Today I want to do a slightly different kind of video. It's looking at how I'm rigging a camera. It's a little bit more mundane, a little bit more sort of work a day. Something which crops up frequently on shoots and something which can trip you up. And a lot of people are going to have opinions on this, so let's have a look at what I'm talking about. There are probably going to be jump cuts in this video. This is what I'm talking about. This is what's weird. Take a look at the Ursa G2 in front of me. What is wrong with it? Well, it's on its side. Now, everyone is going to have had exposure to vertical video at this point, and everyone is probably, watching this video, going to have an opinion about vertical video. The fact of the matter is that when we do projects for clients, it is something that we need to produce. Now, when we need to produce it, it's often a compromise, and someone will want to generate a series of, say, Instagram stories or vertical adverts based on the footage that we've captured, and that footage will have been captured at a wide aspect ratio, not at a tall vertical aspect ratio. So that's the compromise version. Where we can, and we know we're going to be producing something which is just going to be vertical, then I would prefer to actually mount the camera vertical and shoot in that way, framing up, getting everything set, and making sure that it works really well and has the maximum resolution for that particular orientation. I'll give you an example of somewhere where this has happened. Recently, we were commissioned to produce adverts for some very, very tall screens in an airport, sort of 15, 20 foot tall vertical screens. So in that scenario, I really want to produce everything with the maximum resolution, 4.6K on this Ursa, in a vertical format. I don't want to try and shoot it horizontal and then repurpose it to be vertical because I'm going to be cropping in loads. So that is the why we're shooting in a vertical way. This is the how we're actually mounting the camera. So, get that off there. And you can see that we just have one of our Manfrotto plates on the side of the camera, and I'm going to actually mount it in. I always try and have one on the bottom as well, so that if we are shooting, we can easily just flip back to normal orientation without too much trouble. I'm going to refocus the camera. I am out of focus, that doesn't matter. This is what we are here to see. It's just a really standard small rig side plate for Ursas, mounts into the Arri rosette that's normally on the side of the Ursa just here, where you'd put your side handle that came with it. This takes the place of that. It does have another Arri rosette, so you could mount that side handle on top of that if you wanted to. We rarely do. But within this, we've then got a little cold chew style slot just here, so you could put in a wireless pack or whatever just into the side just there, and that also has a NATO rail mounting as well, which is really cool. We use a lot of NATO rail stuff and it's very handy. Got normal quarter 20s and some 3/8 holes within that, so you can mount your plates really easily. And this is what we've got at the moment. We've just got a standard Manfrotto tripod plate mounted into that. I've mounted it slightly off to the side so we can still get to the SDI port just there. And aside from that, it just works really well. It lifts it far enough off the side of the body that it's not going to foul any of the connectors or protection plates that are kind of boosted out to the side to connect the connections at the back just there. So that's all cool. So then when we're on a shoot, it's easy for us to take this, flip it around, get everything in the other orientation, and it is pretty much ready to go. Now, because of the way the camera is built, it's not really going to affect anything else. We can just flip it around. I will do another video at some point on how I like to have cameras built, because that is a kind of subjective thing, and I think sometimes it's interesting to see how people have rigged things up. You can see, just looking over this at the moment, we have a rail block on the bottom. Obviously, there's the other Manfrotto tripod plate just there. Got 2 rails in that, and even when we're not doing a fully remote follow focus system, we will usually just have one focus motor with a finger wheel, and I still like to have 2 of the rods in there so that I can grab hold of one of them and use it to steady the camera if I'm doing handheld or easy rig stuff. In terms of the rest of the build of the camera, I always try and have a top plate on the Ursas as well. It's got a NATO rail on the front. We'll use that for mounting a top handle, and then all of the other quarter 20 mounting points just there for whatever else. We could put some 244 arms on there with a wireless system or another monitor, any of that stuff. I actually have a preference now for putting the wireless systems onto the side of the camera. It makes it less tall, and it means that we're less likely to get fouled on the easy rig if we're using that and getting it all caught on the top. So that's pretty much what the Ursa build looks like when we go out on a commercial shoot. We've got the plates on. We don't have any of the normal Blackmagic top handles or anything like that on there, mostly because we need it to be a little bit more modular and a little bit quicker to change. So the NATO rail system for us and these small array plates is actually a better way of going, because it allows us to repurpose things really quickly on the fly if we're moving from a tripod to a handheld to, say, putting it onto the Ronin 2. We'll keep all of these plates on and they still work. We just mount to the top just there. It's actually easier to mount this plate on the top on the Ronin 2 than it is to mount directly into the top of the Ursa, because it doesn't match up with the holes on the mounting plates. People who are working with smaller mirrorless cameras are probably looking at this and going, oh, that's so excessive. When you're working with a bigger cinema camera build, it does require more thought. If you just have a cage on your mirrorless camera, then you can just flip it around really easy, no problem at all. With something like the Ursa, where you do have different things to consider, like the SDI ports coming out the front, and this is especially true when we're doing anything with a wireless system on the side or remote focus, so we could have 2, 3 focus motors, focus RS zoom on there, and all of the other paraphernalia that goes with that. It might still be a handheld rig at that point, and we might need handles on, we might need an easy rig coming in. So there's lots of different ways that we build these up. If it's going on the Ronin 2, it's going to have a different build as well. Sometimes they are just going on tripods, but I always leave the top plate and the side plate on them because we do so many shoots where we need to have them ready to go. It's not really worth taking them off, and they don't really add any weight, and they're just very utilitarian things. It's just a load of holes. So I would say that's a very useful thing to look at if you're doing this kind of thing on your Ursa and you need to have the ability to flip and go to vertical. Now, clients are going to request this. It's in your interest to have a system which works, that you can quickly and easily change between the two, something which isn't going to be too complicated. I know I tried to do other things before this, mounting something like a clamp onto the handle because we didn't have this to easily screw into. And I think more importantly, when you build this, you can think about all of the things that you might add onto it, like a matte box. You might have all the focus RS zoom motors, you might have a monitor. So thinking about how those work as well when it's flipped on its side, because it can be a little bit cumbersome, especially if when you flip it on its side, you actually end up with all of those things poking out that way. So having them on friction arms or something that you can quickly and easily repurpose it would be really handy. If anyone has any questions about what we're doing just here, drop it down below. I'm going to do some more episodes on this where I look at the kind of rigging that we use to mount cameras for certain shoots. Not because I think that it's impossible for people to work this stuff out themselves, more because we have done a lot of certain kinds of shoot, and perhaps the experience that we've had and the trials and tribulations that we have gone through to get to the point where we can have really efficient setups is perhaps something which you're going to find useful. So yeah, that is vertical shooting on a cinema camera, 4.6K vertical videos. It seems crazy, but that is the best way, I think, of approaching it, actually purposefully doing it, rather than trying to bodge it, just doing an HD cropped in on either side. So that, excessive as it seems, is what we're rocking.